I'm seeing polyamory showing up a lot more in the mainstream media. How do you think the media portrays polyamory versus what is the reality? So I think it's getting better than it used to, but for a very long time, the portrayal of polyamory in media was upper middle class to rich white folks who are cisgender, who are fairly heteronormative, who practice hierarchical polyamory. And it's like a hot bi babe and her girlfriends and a dude and his girlfriends. And like it almost always used the stock photo of like 3 to 5 sets of white feet sticking out from under the covers. So I think that there was a way in which the media portrayed, and does to an extent still portray, polyamory as a thing that white people do and that stays as close to traditional scripts about dating as possible. So it's like normal dating, just with more people. And that's not really how it's practiced by the majority of folks that I know. Most of the folks who I know and spend time with, they don't really do hierarchy in their relationships. That's not a thing that's important to them. They're a wide variety of races, a wide variety of genders, a wide variety of body types and shapes. A lot of us are fairly broke. Some people have a lot of money, but a lot of us are not super well off because we're living in a time in late stage capitalism where most of us are suffering. We tend to be less in this model of like central couple who has other people, and instead more in like a spread out polycule loosely associated network where it's not that there's like a central couple who has other people, it's that like all of us have a variety of relationships of varying degrees of closeness that may overlap, that may not, it depends. Most of the polyamory that we see in the mainstream media doesn't show anybody with visible disabilities doing it. Rather, lots of people do. It tends to be a lot of like neurotypical folks, where a lot of us are neurodiverse. So I think that, you know, as with a lot of media, the picture in media is this very like thin, white, heteronormative, cisnormative, abled, fairly well-off financially ideal. And the real world is much messier and more complicated. I think too that right now is a very interesting time in media because there's a whole bunch of shows that are basically about people microdosing non-monogamy as a way to improve their monogamy or find their right monogamous partner. So if you think about like Love is Blind, The Ultimatum, Too Hot to Handle, right? Like there's a bunch of shows that are about date a bunch of people for a while to find the one for you. The Ultimatum I thought was the funniest because it was like, all right, y'all are couples, one of you wants to get married, the other doesn't. So meet all these other couples and then pick someone from a different couple to move in with for a while to see if you'd rather be with them. 'Cause like, whoa, just going right to moving in. It's, wow, like U-hauling, but straight. Very strange. And I think that it's, again, really an interesting time because it seems like a lot of the media that has various kinds of non-monogamy happening in it was definitely written by monogamous people, because it still has those underlying mononormative values. When folks who are non-monogamous write the media, it tends to be very different than that. You know, in 2022, I got contacted by 2 reality shows and 1 person who's working on a dramatic series related to non-monogamy. And both of the reality shows came to me with a premise that was very much come up with something that like monogamous folks came up with. And my call with them was a lot of me saying like, that's not really how it works. Here's what would make more sense. Whereas the like dramatic series is being written by someone who is non-monogamous. And so like, even just from the start of that call, there was way less that I had to do to like clarify that that's Like, this is how real people do it. So I think that there's still this way that because monogamy is much more common, because it's the mainstream, because it's the accepted way of doing relationships, the lens that people take to non-monogamy in media is still very much informed by mononormativity. All right, one more sip of water. Okay, so we had a comment. Stigmatized beliefs such as what? Okay, so I think this was when we were talking about the therapist stuff. So it is just true that in this society, if you are non-monogamous, if you are kinky, if you are queer, if you are trans, you are far more likely to experience oppression and stigmatization than if you are cis, straight, vanilla, monogamous, white. Like, that is just the truth. You can be fired for being non-monogamous. You can lose your kids for being non-monogamous. As a therapist, I know of several therapists in states who have lost their licenses for being non-monogamous. Not having sex with a client, nothing even close to that, just that they are non-monogamous, and that violates the very vague morality clause that is in many different licensing laws. So when I talk about stigmatized beliefs here, I'm talking about legally and socially stigmatized, that socially, if you tell people you are polyamorous, monogamous folks, a lot of them tend to have an issue with you and not want you anywhere near their partners. And in terms of like legally and structurally, it can have very real consequences for you in terms of ability to find employment or housing, or maintain custody of children, or deal with financial issues, end of life issues. Like, there's just a lot of ways that you're impacted. So that is what I mean by like being part of a stigmatized group.